All right. First of all, good afternoon, evening, one and all. I think we have. All right. So, welcome to the third installment of Pluxee India webinar series 2026. We are starting this particular session now. So, just to start with, unlike earlier webinars context, this time we are going to touch upon a very important and critical aspects of Indian corporate landscape. As we all are aware that MSME, new age startup, hold the backbone of our socio-economic development of our country in a very, very stronger way. So, as we know that, this particular sector, it actually accounts staggering around 45% of our industrial inputs, 40% of our export, which means a lot for the country's growing economy at this acumen. Now, this also gives us a perspective on why it is so important that to ensure that employment or to bring talent under such landscape of MSME and startup is super critical for the HR fraternity, for every such organizations in this universe. So in lieu of that, today we have our industry expert, Ms. Sneha Deb, with us. To introduce Sneha, a seasoned HR business partner known for building people strategies that directly power business outcomes. She currently serves as a senior HR VP for Asia Pacific region at Novotech CRO and brings with her rich experience from organizations such as Trends Analytics, Technicolor, DS Group, Accor Hospitality Group, spanning diverse industries and stages of growth. An MBA in Human Resource from the ITM group of institutions, Sneha is also a certified POSH practitioner with a strong focus on building inclusive, psychologically safe and high trust workplace, which we all in this landscape need. She is deeply engaged in the application of Gen AI for HR learning and capability building. She brings a future forward yet grounded operator first perspective on how talent, culture, technology together can enable an organization to scale with impact. So welcome Sneha to this webinar.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rahul, and to Pluxee for giving this platform for all of us to discuss here.
All right. So for the audience, we just like to create a bit of structural context here. So what we're going to do, we're going to have an interactive session here. Now, during this session, audience will get a chance also to involve. It's not that we are going to have only a one-way journey. We will be doing some polls that will eventually comes as a pop-up in your screen, audience. And you can definitely intervene, involve, share your vibe, share your perspective to it. And of course, enjoy these particular sessions, these interactions further. By saying that, Sneha, so for the first question which comes to my mind into this particular field of business, in fact, I'm sure this is also a perspective which audience also will be looking forward. When you say future ready workforce for startups, new age companies, SMEs, what does that look like in real terms?
Okay. So are we having a poll over here, or let's probably deep dive into what technically do I feel is the future ready workforce? Shall we have a poll here?
Certainly. Okay, poll is live, Sneha.
Okay, may I request everyone to probably put in your thoughts about what do you think is a future ready workforce?
We will give maybe a few seconds to them. And practically share the result. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We are good to share the results?
Yes. I have published the result.
We have 60% of our folks here voting for stronger skills plus internal mobility. Okay. And 26 for better retention and engagement. Okay, great. So let's first address and understand what exactly does future ready workforce mean. When we say future ready workforce for startups, new generation and SMEs, they are a bunch or a global trend of extremely smart, tech enabled, learning obsessed, ownership driven teams that constantly keeps reinventing themselves as per markets, technologies, business models changes, right? Now the next question comes, if we know who our future ready workforce are, what is that we as HRs or leaders do that we become future ready employer of choice for this talent pool and attract the best in the market? Now, quite understandably from the chat, from the poll here, we understand that 60% voted for stronger skills plus internal mobility. So honestly, if I have to, with my experience over a period of time across different industries and change in time, also pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, I would ideally, categorize this into three major segments. First is understanding, creating a belongingness quotient for a future ready workforce that they kind of align towards a greater impact. How your organization have their, of course, we all have a mission, vision statement with us, but at the very core, when we have a problem statement existing, the very reason for the purpose of the organization's existence in the market, our future ready workforce aligns a lot with what they are doing on day-to-day basis, that is creating a greater, larger impact, maybe at a regional level or at a global level. So that becomes very important, though it's a very intangible thing, but creates an immense impact. And from my experience, I can say I've been talking to a lot of employees across different industries. There are a lot who say, I'm in this organization because I connect to the work that I'm doing, connect to the larger impact my organization is creating at a global level. I like solving this supply chain analytics understanding, which caters to demand forecasting or retail market optimization, warehousing, warehouse stock optimization. So, I mean, I'm giving you some examples of how they really connect to what they're solving. So that belongingness quotient is something that I feel is the first thing that as a future ready employer of choice, we should definitely cater to. And then, of course, there are subcategories to it also, which is the cultural and the leadership quality, how they feel included, the communication, the business updates about what is going okay with the organization, what's not going okay, whether they have a seat at the table, not necessarily with the CXOs, but some way making an impact. The other two aspects of this is, of course, the professional growth, where, of course, it kind of aligns with the poll results, stronger skills plus internal mobility. Now, we know which organization we are working for, what are the problem statements, what is the impact it's creating in the market. Second comes to what is it in for me? As a professional, what is the organization catering to my growth and future employability? Are there fair reward systems, ownership of the work, technology enablement so that we can route redundant transactional work to the system and utilize the bandwidth of our employees more efficiently? That's more on the professional development that they definitely look forward to while joining an organization. The third aspect, which was at its core always there, but not so diverse or not so flexible, catering to the life stages of the employees. When I say that, what it means is having your security in place. So you definitely have a health insurance for your employees, which is probably a standard 5 lakhs coverage or 3 lakhs coverage or something more. But as an employer, as an HR leader, probably the difference we can create is adapting that to the life stages of our employees, life choices of our employees, without really exploding cost, so that we have better utilization of these benefits that we have provided them. They look and value a lot on flexibility and autonomy. Where are they working? When are they working? How are the people working? A trust-based culture, a system so robust that we can cater to people who are working remotely, hybrid, and work from office. Because that's the need of the hour. I often have discussions with my talent acquisition team where they really emphasize on the fact that how my current organization values flexibility, and it has really helped us tap the right talent in the market while keeping our cost to hire numbers in check. So I feel to cater to the future ready workforce, these major three categorization, at least to start with for any HR leader, would take us on the right direction to make us an employer of choice.
Okay, I think that was quite insightful answers. And if I can quote a few of the things, like, when we talk about, the belongingness, when you talk about the professional growth, internal mobility, what is in for me, in lieu of that, probably, I will just try to put my second question to you. Post COVID-19 pandemic, during the last 3 to 5 years, if I have to consider, what do you see has changed the most in terms of how talent evaluates employers in such a high growth environments, other way around?
Yeah. Yes, the tables have definitely turned, specifically post pandemic that we have seen. It's no more just we as HRs or leaders scouting for the right talent. It is also them scouting for the right offer that they have in hand. The multiple talents in the market, there is always demand supply understanding of each role in the market. Having said that, the future ready workforce is extremely adaptable to the change. There's constantly reskilling themselves. The skills are getting very relevant. So, it's very important that we prioritize on the order of how things are being, how our benefit programs are being laid out, and the depth of expectations that they hold. It's more like a career insurance that they are looking forward to, more than just having a job in hand. So yes, that is how I think the shift has happened. By which I meant earlier, of course, there were benefits like health insurance, annual bonus, but now it's about signaling towards the whole, whether an organization cares for the whole life of an employee, not just their productivity. When I say that, earlier the question would be, what benefits do you offer in an interview? Now the questions have changed. Now employees very openly ask, do your benefits show that you understand my stress, my growth, my family, and my future? So I think that has actually changed a lot in our attraction of our employees and also retention of our employees. Having said that, we have a poll up, and what's biggest shift you've seen, and
I think
we can go ahead, publish the results.
Audience also sounds in a similar fashion as yours.
Stronger well-being and work-life balance. Absolutely. Like I said, it is no more about just sticking to your traditional structure or your benefits plan, but introducing a lot more flexibility of optimum utilization of that benefits plan. That's when I say benefits plans, it's not just your basic healthcare and well-being, but also flexibility as a core benefit. When I say flexibility as a core benefit, it's also about what platforms have you provided to them to work from, wherein it is remote, hybrid, uh, work from office. Few positions, of course, we know have to be work from office because they are probably client, like something like which needs regular client meetups in person, something to do with HR roles for that matter. We have to be working from office at least in hybrid fashion so that we have that face time with our employees. But then there are few employees, especially in the IT tech field, where they can very well operate from office, from home, like in a remote structure. So is our systems and our in technology robust enough to support that, so that we cater to all uh, dimensions of people working? So I think those things have made a huge change in the last 3 to 5 years. Uh, the priority order and the depth of expectations from the employers.
Great. So if I have to take one particular point from your last answer, where you talk about the prioritize and orders of the benefits program, this is something which a talent probably looks at it when they want to get into the this kind of a landscape or this kind of a universe of organizations. In view of this particular understanding, as per you, how should leaders of these SMEs or startups think about employee benefit today? If I have to put it more rationally, my question is, what will be the strategic benefits versus benefits nice to have, as per you?
That's a very interesting question, and that's something which most HRs, including myself, when we have our discussions with the senior managements, we always come to a fix as to how do I define what is strategic and what is nice to have. Everything seems to be good to have, but we have a limited budget in hand. We cannot overshoot that. So how do we really work around with the budget while we make some strategic interventions in defining our employee benefits? So, after much conversations, analysis, paralysis, I kind of came to an understanding in my last organization that I was working with. It's a Tridence Analytics. It's a Series B funded organization, and we have diverse type of employees. When I say diverse, across different parts of the globe, and multi generational. So now it was very important that we design something which is catering to almost everyone, but at the same time, not one size fits all. So what we can actually look at this from three major lenses. First is your must-haves, like the table stakes, which is your basic health and well-being, flexibility, learning, career insurance, fair, transparent pay, all of that. These are must haves. These are no more nice to haves. These are things which are non negotiables for employees while they are scouting offers and reviewing which one to go ahead with. The second thing, which is what makes differentiation, like the differentiators, as I call it, are the high impact. Of course, it's not mandatory for all organizations, but if you really want to be the employer of choice, these are the differentiators that kind of made a substantial difference in how people perceived their benefits programs, which is more catering to your life stage support. Like, for example, a very nice real-time example that came through while we were working towards devising the benefits program in my previous organization. Employees these days are at different life stages with different life choices. When we say we have maternity benefit for all women employees, as we see in today's world, a lot of women employees are choosing to not opt for maternity at all. It's a life choice they have made. Now, how is your maternity benefit of any value to that employee? So these are the few food for thought questions that we have to ask to our senior leaders to understand, and even ourselves as HRs to define our benefit strategy. We have folks working in an organization across multi generations. Now, what would make sense to a fresher would be something very different from what would make sense to someone who has a family with two kids, elderly parents to take care of. So your differentiators come in place when you have your benefits flexible to suit the life stage support, supporting the life stages of the employees. Now, of course, we can cover eventually, I'm sure we will cover those aspects also. How do we devise it, and how in one of our, I'll share a real life example also, where we recently, in my current organization, this happened. Of course, the learning happened in the previous organization, application to a lot of application happened in my current organization, where we realized is we do not want to keep a one size fits all insurance coverage for everyone, because people have various needs. So we had one stable core benefits fixed insurance, and a percentage of that complete coverage is flexible. So an employee can choose whether they would like to go for childcare, parental care, elder care tie-ups, fertility or adoption benefits, or they would want to go for something as simple as gym memberships or mental health wellness retreats or something like that. So they can they customize the benefits and utilize according to their needs. And then the third, of course, are the nice to haves. These are only perks, not really the pillars for your benefits program. These are good for culture creation. This is more good on LinkedIn, if I may put it that way. But these won't compensate for your poor health cover, burnout, or lack of growth. So these are majorly, fun activities that you have in office. Good to have. People come together, enjoy, network. But if your core differentiators and table stakes are at stake, then your nice to haves would not work. So I feel, to answer you, Rahul, the three questions which we as HR should ask ourselves, which I also asked myself and my leaders while structuring the benefits program and changing it to a percentage of it into flexible and a percentage of it remaining as core coverage, was, does this reduce life anxiety for my people, which caters to your health, security, flexibility, finances, and all? And second, does this increase their future employability? Whether they have learning, exposure, career growth? Do they know their clear growth plans? And does this build a long-term emotional loyalty, where outside of work, also things are taken care of? And it creates immense trust in the organization that they are working for. So I think that's the basic differentiation about what can be strategic and what can be a nice to have.
Excellent. So let me just publish this results. In fact, audience also are in line, looks to be, and they have also chosen the two most important things, as you also said. So, they wanted to keep a kind of a balance between the budget as an organizations, and at the same time, as an employee, they're also moving towards the digital choice, flexi benefits, and so on and so forth. We could see almost equal number of votes have been published for those two.
Lovely.
Excellent.
Yeah. So one more thing I would like to call out and actually thank Pluxee, whom we've also worked with. So we have our salary structures. Of course, it's fixed, right? Now, how do we utilize our salary structure in such a way that people can, have benefits out of their normal salary components? So we have partnered with Pluxee also to customize our salary components for our employees according to their requirement for net take home salary, and parking it to other wallets that they can use. So yes, that is also very well received by my current organization, that we recently, not recently actually, it's been a year since we introduced that.
That's a great gestures. Also, we will always accept from you at the same time. And yeah, I think that was quite an insightful things what you have said in when we talk about the kind of benefits all these talents will be looking from these entire universe or in this entire landscape. So if I have to say that, why do you think, in fact, audience poll also indicated about the digital solutions, about the flexible benefits. Why do you think that this digital and flexible benefits becoming such a stronger lever for attracting and retention right now?
Yeah.
What exactly is your view on it?
I think it's solving a very basic structural mismatch between how people live now and how traditional benefits were designed. That primarily is the reason why digitization and flexible benefits has become such a need of the hour, or a strong lever for attraction and retention of our employees. Like, work has become hybrid, remote, different working styles that people have adopted. It's multi-generational. It's extremely high stress and highly uncertain working conditions. Uh, there is fast changing skills. Skills are getting redundant. People are keeping up with skills relevant in the market. There are different life stages and life choices that people have started opening up to accept in today's world. But the benefits, the traditional benefits, were very much based on a office based 9 to 5 single life stage employees, more or less, kind of a structure. It was one size fits all insurance and perks. Careers were also very linear. People would not really job hop as much. Now, our future ready workforce, like the term, are very focused on knowing what they are doing and why they are doing. If anything is not really catering to that um, bit of their personalization or autonomy, they are not thinking twice before switching jobs. So now, why it becomes important that we have flexible benefits is, um, we give them a platform to use the benefits. We are any which ways as organizations having a budget that we are utilizing. We always already have a cost in hand. Now, how can we optimize that cost so that our employees' perceived value for that benefit is much higher without really, ballooning the cost all the more? So that's where flexible benefits has really played a big role. And then there's a second part to it, which is digitizing your flexible benefits. It's app based. You can avail the benefits. You can do your claims. You can get your e-mediclaim card downloaded. You can check the status of your claims. You can upload your documents to get tax benefits, or whatever you call it. It's all in the app. No matter where in the world I am, no matter what time zone I'm working from, I can process it from my end without having the bottleneck of reaching out to the HR or a POC from the mediclaim department, so and so forth.
Okay, I think that sounds great. I mean, when you are talking about the digital and flexible benefits, why it's being a stronger lever. Now, if I have to say that, as an organization, uh, when you think as a perspective of a HRBP or a part of this HR fraternity, which benefit categories you see that's the rising faster than anything else, like well-being, financial wellness, learning, caregiving, etc. And why do you think that specific thing is rising faster?
Well, L&T, of course, is something that employees have taken it as a non-negotiable. Like, the skills are becoming so relevant and irrelevant at the same time in the market at a fast pace that they have to constantly be updated to cater to the market needs, right? So, career development, which comes from your learning and development modules, and the structure that you have in the organization, which is again catering to different levels of your organization, different departments of your organization, has definitely picked up a lot of momentum. People do invest and want their employers to invest in their learnings, whether it is their skill based, technology based, work related, core work domain related learnings, or whether it is behavioral soft skills learnings. They do invest a lot of time in understanding small nuances of living life also. So I think that's one thing that has definitely gained momentum. The other thing, which has really played well out for personally my experience that I've seen, is bringing flexibility in utilizing your health benefits. Like how you give the option to employees to utilize their insurance coverage. I think these two aspects has been constantly been on the rise, because work has become so much more demanding than what it was probably even pre-pandemic, or from our parents' generation to what it is now. And it's only going to get crazier is what we see with the AI disruption and advancement in technology. So as competent potential employees or candidates in the market, it is also important that my employer takes care of my life outside my work, where I don't really have to stress much about the bottlenecks when it comes to processing my claims and all. These we don't realize, but when we are in a situation is when we understand how stressful that particular moment can be. And a simple digitization of claiming your medical bills through a app, which is so much of a benefit, it's so much of a relief. So I think both learning and development for their personal growth, and for their professional growth, and taking care of their personal aspect of life has gained tremendous momentum in today's world.
I think that's a great insight. In fact, we can probably inform that from Pluxee also we have seen the momentum, and specifically post pandemic, this is something which is also kind of an aspect with this particular growing universe, or in this particular landscape, which we have been seeing this sort of solution as a service provider. We could see that there's a kind of a momentum at our end as well. And of course, like that's what you said also aligned to it. So great. I think this is something which is very useful for the audience as well. All right, so I believe we were almost at the flag end of our session. So however, there is one question which came in my mind in between, and which is something which I thought that probably is a kind of a more rational, rather it's like a proactive side. So if you had around 90 days with a scaling startup or SME, okay, what are the first 3 core actions you have taken to modernize the employee value proposition, culture, benefits of the company without overspending?
Yeah, like already touched upon, the budget is always a constraint that we often get to hear and get limited by, even if we have a lot of ideas as HRs and for the well-being of our employees, want to make a lot of changes. But I think if I have to look at this and structure it into 3 first actions that I would take so that my EVP is modernized, catering to the future ready workforce, it would definitely be something that is high signal, low cost, and creates high trust amongst my employees, so that the EVP shifts from what we offer, and as an employee doing all my employer branding and talking about what we offer, to making my employees be the brand ambassadors, where they go and talk about how it feels to be part of working in the organization. So I think the first three actions would be decoding what is the real EVP. Now, different organizations, different industries, different nature of employees that they work. It is important that we understand what is the real EVP that is going to make a difference to my employees. I might be working in a manufacturing industry, which is catering to both blue and white collar worker. I might be working in a Series B funded startup, which includes a lot of young folks, right, from fresh from their colleges, or it can be an R&D organization which has a very different business model that they function at, and basis that our employees are also having different nature of work and life priorities that they cater to. Now I have to, first of all, as an HR, very importantly understand who are my people. How do I understand that? Is probably you can run a quick one, quick survey, understand what works and what doesn't work, attractors, detractors with your employees. Why are they still with the organization, and what is that made them be with the organization? What is that, if changes could push them towards leaving the organization? It's important that as HRs we understand these things. Or we can definitely have interviews with our employees. When I say interviews, it can be a quick brown bag meet up on lunch and ask them that how things are going, so, or not going well. What do you think could have been done better? I mean, just quick understanding, and make a record of that. Probably that would be my first step to go ahead with. Second would be, basis that analysis, I can create a flexible benefit stack. Where I have already mentioned, percentage of it is core, and percentage of it is by choice that employees can choose from. Core layer would be basically your health coverage, basic learning allowance, all of that. And flex wallet can be differentiating basis, which you also can link to the performance of the employees. Like, you can gamify your learning L&D portal to increase more and more value-added learnings and participation by your employees. So that's something that probably can be worked on building of core plus choice benefit stack. Third would be rewiring the cultural signals. So when I say cultural signals, meaning how do you coach and train your managers? Because your managers are the ones who are the plug to a lot, to a large chunk of your employee base. And often we get to hear that employees do not leave organizations, they leave incompetent managers. So it becomes very important that we create, rewire, and then signal the culture of the organization, which starts right from the top and also includes your manager capability. Founder communication rhythm, having not regular but at least structured and structured communications with the founders. AMA sessions are getting a lot of momentum and across social media. Why not utilize that, gamify that entire experience, and understand from your people, and even communicate back to them what is working for the business and what is not working, what are the bottlenecks, how can the employees be a part of easing out the bottlenecks. So I guess these are the three first steps or actions that has worked for me as an HR, and and definitely I can vouch for it. At least if these three steps are being taken care to start with, there's a lot of changes that we can do without really ballooning the cost at all. Because we have a few things in hand, and then there are a few things we can't really change. We have to accept the reality. So whatever we have in hand, can we maximize it to the full potential? I think is what I would say requires EVP modernization in today's world.
I think that is excellent. In fact, if I have to publish the result of this particular poll as well, you'll see a clear winner on upgrade the benefits to be more, to be more relevant and flexible, as you said very correctly. But there are some few comments, or rather a few members who have participants who have also voted for the first one, the improve manager habits. I think the last sentence where exactly as you said that people, we often see that the people do not leave the organizations, they actually leave the incompetent managers. So we could see that some sort of a vibe, some sort of impressions coming from the audience as well. So now there are few, probably from your practical sense, a few questions which I definitely like to ask you. Maybe I cannot say it as a quick fire questions, but from your experience, what do you see today? Maybe few things which, if you can answer to the audience, and definitely they will love to know about it. So it's like an ever busy world. Okay, so everybody is busy. Everyone is involving into their work culture. Of course, all are talented. Everybody is trying to do something on their own, and they want to grow further. Uh, as a manager or as a supervisor, how can we support learning when everyone is already busy, and me as a manager who are also involving into the same a kind of a parameter, or with the same kind of an aspect as well? What should a manager do to support such kind of a learning habit?
Okay. So we often don't give enough credit to the fact that how much of the on the job working really works for a lot of people. It might not be documented, but it goes a long way, and it's actually practical in nature rather than the theoretical certifications or knowledge that we gather. That's good. That's even better. That's also good. But when you get to use it on the job, that carries a whole lot of meaning, because we have errors, we have real time concerns and issues, and your manager, as a manager, you're there to handhold, or as a team lead, you're there to handle and solve. So I think the on the job training is something that we should more and more uh, you know create a habit of inculcation in our employees. That's one thing, because it does not need separate time from your employees to go ahead and get involved in, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is having a very robust L&D portal. I have seen changes, and I've worked with organizations and L&D teams which really worked towards creating a very robust L&D program where they had ties, uh, you know, uh, professional certification institutions like, or to name. I understand our concern. You're not, get respect. You can all churn and look for your internal trainers who can create modules for you. Quick bite modules should not be very lengthy that it eventually, your employees are not able to put in time, or they just lack interest. Quick bite modules, and that should be more and more publicized within the organization. And check one second. Other thing has worked well is when you have a certain budget allocated to employees. Like, I understand not every organization does, and especially SME startups where they're struggling probably to build their to get their EBITDA positive in a way, if I have to say. They would not want to put a lot of expenses on per employee investment, right? But there are ways you can carve that out. there are other engagement budgets that you have. How do you utilize that you put a bit of it into learning? It might not be a very exorbitant amount, but even if you can partially endorse that, though, and especially looking into your high performers, to retain your high performers, it might not be one size fits all kind of a budget that you have, but especially for high performers, very niche skills, right, which is very difficult to probably tap in the market, something that is homegrown, and you want that person to be with the organization for longer and it's value adding. I think those pockets are what we can target at, to live, train them better, to help them use their learning capabilities better. I know for a fact, one of my previous organizations, even not for all, again, let me call it out, it's majorly for very selected roles, critical roles, high performing individuals, where they have sponsored their higher education. And of course that comes with a clause that you'll have to be working with the organization for so and so period after you're back from your higher education. So those things really worked, and I still know people who are with the organization for over a decade now. And that's really impressive to see how things are changing. So these are small changes you can do, but makes a huge lot of difference, only and only as an HR, if you really know your employee base well.
I think that's quite an elaborated and exhaustive answers. In fact, you answered one of the questions which I thought probably I would ask you. You covered it up in a very beautiful manner. It's like, which benefits, which will probably matters the most today to an employees. As you said very correctly, it depends on the budget, as you said, and what I could find from your answers. The second one you also said about what is there for me, what is exactly which I can do it for selected number of people. Like from one of your examples, you said that about giving some sort of higher studies, with of course with some disclaimers and so on and so forth. Brilliant. I mean, that is something which definitely can be inculcated, as you said. But that practically comes out to be another one thing which I would also like to say, that when we are talking about this landscape of startups now, today a startup or a SME is probably tomorrow it's a large account or it's a large client per se. Today they have around 50 employees, but tomorrow they will be going to be 200 or probably 400 or even more, even on a greater success. So as per you, how does this future ready change, and when company should do it, and what company should do it in such kind of cases? How company will probably handle such kind of an aspects when they envisage that they will be growing from 50 to, let's say, 400 in the next 2-3 years down the line, and so on and so forth?
Okay. First thing first, business forecasting. I have seen very good companies not doing that great because their business forecasting has not been that, I won't say accurate, it is never accurate, but at least even close to being accurate. There was not much thought put into the business forecasting. So once at least that bit of work, of course, that stays with quite a higher management to do that bit. But once that stage is done, the next stage, of course, is having your HR business partners or your talent acquisition team who directly deal with getting your talents in the organization, or onboarding them into the organization future ready. When I say how do you get them ready, is whether you have the bandwidth within your team to see that expansion materialize. Now, when I say bandwidth, meaning you can choose to, like how I already mentioned, like digitization helps. If you can route a lot of your work, redundant transactional work of your teams, to these systems, or in place, or your HRIS portal. I often see, I even struggled myself from my personal experience. HRIS systems are not utilized towards their full potential. There's a lot they can do, And then of course there are restrictions, but then there's still a lot that they can take away from the bandwidth. They can manage the workload, which is more transactional in nature. So that is one thing that of course we should work upon, full utilization of our systems in place, so that a lot of transactional work and things are taken care of, and then you have the actual bandwidth of your employees. So then your HR can easily manage 200 to 2000 people. You know, there are ways where you can have chatbots in place. And when I say chatbots, not necessarily that you have to get it from a vendor, but if you have some internal expertise who can create a basic chatbot which replaces your HR interface and helps your employees get the basics questions answered. At least, where is the policy? Where can I find this? What is the rules and regulations for these? What is the flexi dates? What is the leave policy? This and that. Very basic. Your HRs need not put in your bandwidth in those questions. It can be outsourced to a chatbot, which can be very well built in-house, and it need not be anything fancy. It need not be from a vendor. It can be very basic in-house built, where employees can go and check, and basic intranet where employees are made aware that, okay, you have all your documents and things here. It honestly, what I have been hearing, especially from my HR ops team, at least 30% of their time in a day goes into answering these very basic questions to their employees. Rather, they can actually get involved into other value-adding works. And HRBPs can actually have more strategic discussions with their employees, understanding what's working, what's not working for them, rather than being just a, may I help you center. So I think these small changes can definitely prepare an HR team towards an expansion of their organization. That's having said that, there are many other things, like how do you prepare your onboarding? Is it structured? Is it tech enabled, so that nothing needs a face time? It's all so structured. It goes out beforehand to the employees. You get it recorded on time. On the day of the joining, things are in place because there is an IT team involved who have checked the boxes of things that they have to do. The admin team is aware to help them with the layout of the office plan, tech park entry, all of that. There's no need for an HR to be tracking all these things. Every team is assigned their work. They do their due diligence, close their bit, and in the system it marks as completed. So those things we don't realize, but it eats away a lot of our bandwidth. So then an HR can actually be equipped to handle from 200 to 2000 employees also.
All right, that's excellent. So, probably the last question of the day, I would like to ask you. Okay, I may sound like a salesperson because there's a say that if you cannot take out the targets and the sales from a salesperson, that's something on that particular things. Jokes apart. So, what's one low cost change, that can probably improve the retention quickly as per you?
Low cost change that can actually improve the retention of my employees? I think we already talked about, how the benefits that we already have in hand, right? Without ballooning costs, how can we optimize for our employees? That definitely works as a big retention driver for a lot of employees. I honestly tell you my personal experience, which I was also a little skeptical about, that at a operational level, how do we execute it? But with the help of our Mediclaim partners, the amount of acceptation that we have received from our employees when it comes to their Mediclaim coverage and using it to their benefit is something they've come and told us that best in the industry. The competitors that we have, even in India, are not actually having this in place, and it's so much more beneficial. So that is one thing. And of course, there are a lot of folks who might, it's like we all have HRs in this forum, most of them, and we all know uh, that when someone comes and tells us that compensation is the reason why we want to leave you, there is very little that we can do, because we have a budget set. uh, we don't know if we can work around, move up beyond the parity of the role. But what is that we can do to show him the them the EVPs that we offer, or make them realize that what we have in them, or have in for them, that they realize that probably even if they have a very lucrative offer, there is a high chance they might come back for your culture. So on papers, you might see a attrition today, but you might actually see a lot of returnees to your organization. And having said that, it's a proper functioning program that we had in my one of my previous organization for our alumni, where we had boomerang. So we named it boomerang, the name of the program. A lot of returnees who had come back to us because they realized, probably on papers we got a different compensation and all, but the kind of work we were doing was value adding in our own way. Like, it was aligning with our values, and we like to do the kind of work that we were doing. We like the way we felt heard, communicated, inclusive, uh, in the entire organization. And we had so many returnees. Honestly, it was not even one or two, so many returnees who would be our brand ambassadors in a way. So I think, yeah, I mean, I feel an HR should never fret about attrition. You do your job well, you have your things in place that you can bare minimum at least do and more with the budget in hand. You will still see attrition, but um, again, there are few things that you cannot really control. There are people, of course, they will move ahead, they want career expansion. The world is an oyster for us. Why not? But if they feel the connect somewhere in their previous organization, they might always, or at times, sometimes at least, think of coming back. So probably that's the way to go. We should not really fret about attrition, but at least keep doing things that is in our capacity to do, make our employees' life better.
I think that's a spectacular things what you said about boomerang. I mean, definitely, audience also would have loved this particular things. So yes, I think we are at the flag end of the day, flag end of the session as well. And I'd like to say, like, that this was indeed quite an insightful detail what you have cascaded today to me, to the audience, everyone. Now, of course, in this ever-changing socio-economic environment, when the country is leaning heavily towards the growth of MSME and the startup sectors subsequently, workforce is a very, very critical factor, super critical. And we all know that attracting them via an optimal benefits are the biggest aspects, not only for the HR professionals, even for the managers per se, to any level. So thank you very much, Sneha, for sharing your perspective. It was extremely insightful, and I'm sure audience will also take some good amount of information from here on, and certainly look forward implementing some of it into their organizations. So thank you very much for being
Thank you
with us.
so much, Rahul. Thank you to each one of you who's attended this session and been part of it. Of course, looking forward to more such interactions. And let's keep this fraternity alive and active, and share insights. Few things might work, few things might not work, but let's see what we can do best for our employees. And for sure we have constraints, way too many constraints, and being the bridge between employees and the management, it's a tough deal of a job that we do. And I would really appreciate that kind of role that each one of you have taken up to serve the employees and the organization at the same time. And yes, let's have more discussions like that, more value adding sessions. Maybe we have our Pluxee team posts in LinkedIn. Let's share our views there too.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks a
audience.
lot. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.